For like forever, if you thought of the king of the skies, one name probably popped into your head: Boeing. But in the epic rivalry that defines modern aviation, something huge has happened. A dramatic, kind of stunning reversal. Today we're going to break down how the crown was passed from one giant to another.
So, let me just ask you, straight up, if you had to name the world's #1 playmaker, right now, today, who would you say? For most of aviation history, that answer was a no-brainer. But things have really changed.
And yeah, the answer might actually surprise you. It's Airbus. That's right, the European contender, the company that was always seen as the underdog, is now the world's largest manufacturer of commercial jets. So the big question is, how on earth did this happen? Okay, let's get into it.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at Airbus's incredible climb to the top. Then we'll get into the two clashing philosophies that drove these giants. After that, we have to talk about the serious turbulence that shook Boeing to its core. And finally, we'll check out the scoreboard, the hard numbers, to see who's really winning the battle for the skies.
So our story really kicks off with the unseating of a monarch. And this isn't just about spreadsheets and delivery numbers, it's about the fall of a long-reigning king in one of the most important industries on the entire planet.
To really get how we got here, you have to go back to the beginning. See, Airbus wasn't born a giant. It was actually forged back in 1970 as a European group with one single, incredibly audacious goal: to take on America's absolute dominance in aerospace, an industry led by, you guessed it, Boeing. And their climb, well, it was slow and steady. It definitely didn't happen overnight. In 1988, they launched the A320 with this revolutionary fly-by-wire system. It was a huge technological gamble, and man, did it pay off. By the 90s, they were a serious threat, grabbing about half of all new orders. But the real tipping point, that was 2019, when they finally overtook Boeing in deliveries. And then, just last year, their A320 family did the unthinkable. It surpassed the legendary Boeing 737 as the most delivered airliner in history. That's a 50-year journey from total underdog to king of the hill.
But still, how did this happen? Well, this story is about so much more than just planes and orders. At its heart, it's about two totally different ways of thinking. Two corporate cultures that basically sent these companies on completely different flight paths.
So on one side, you've got Airbus. It was born from collaboration across Europe, so that's in its DNA. It was always focused on pushing the tech envelope, with things like fly-by-wire or designing similar cockpits so airlines could save a ton on pilot training. They often chose to design brand new planes from scratch. Boeing, on the other hand, well, they historically built on their legacy. They often chose to upgrade existing models, like the famous 737, because it saved time and money. It was a proven strategy, but definitely a more conservative one.
And then came this really pivotal moment. After Boeing merged with McDonnell Douglas in 1997, a new philosophy started to creep in. And this quote just captures it perfectly. The focus began shifting away from just pure engineering excellence and more toward maximizing shareholder value.
So what does a finance-led culture actually mean? Well, it's what happens when quarterly profits and the stock price start driving the big decisions more than, say, a long-term engineering vision. And this focus on the bottom line, it led directly to the 737 MAX. That was the choice to go for a faster, cheaper upgrade of an old design to compete with Airbus instead of spending the time and money on a brand new clean-sheet airplane.
And that decision, along with the culture that made it, would eventually lead Boeing into the absolute darkest period in its long history. A crisis with truly devastating consequences, both human and financial. This is the number that matters most. 346 people. That's how many lives were lost in two crashes of the brand new Boeing 737 MAX in 2018 and 2019. This wasn't just a technical failure. It was an unimaginable human tragedy. So what happened? The cause was traced to a new flight control software called MCAS, which Boeing had added to make the plane feel like it handled the same, even with bigger engines. But the critical, fatal flaw was that its existence and power weren't really made clear to pilots. They were left in the dark, unable to respond when the system malfunctioned. The result was a worldwide grounding of Boeing's best-selling plane for almost 2 years.
And as investigators dug deeper, it became painfully clear this wasn't just some software bug. As this quote from a U.S. congressman put it, the problem was systemic. The investigation uncovered a deep cultural problem at a company that was once, revered for its commitment to safety.
And the fallout was just immense. Whistleblowers started coming forward with concerns about other planes, like the 787 Dreamliner. We heard stories about engineers being told to shut up when they raised red flags. And the financial cost of this cultural breakdown, a staggering $87 billion, that's billion with a B, in lost shareholder value. At the end of the day, the market is the ultimate judge, right? The numbers don't lie. So let's look at the hard data and see exactly how this crisis completely reshaped the entire aviation world.
And yeah, the numbers really tell a stark story. If you look at 2022, Airbus delivered 661 jets. Boeing, they managed 480. This wasn't a narrow victory. This was a clear, decisive lead for the European company.
But look, this isn't just a one-year thing. Airbus has been number one in deliveries every single year since 2019. Now I want you to look at that third row, the unfilled order backlog. This is huge. This is the pipeline for future business. Airbus has over 7,200 jets waiting to be built. Boeing has just under 4,600. That is a massive, massive advantage.
And this chart just makes that backlog crystal clear. Airbus is sitting on a commanding 61% of all unfilled orders between the two of them. So this isn't just about who's winning today. It means Airbus's production lines are basically booked solid for years to come, cementing its number one position.
So where does that leave us today? Well, this epic duel is far from over, but the roles have, without a doubt, been reversed. So here's the landscape in a nutshell. Airbus is holding the high ground. They've got the market leadership and a reputation for stability. Meanwhile, Boeing is on this long, difficult journey to rebuild its culture, to reinvest in its engineering roots, and to win back the trust that it lost.
But you know, there is a silver lining in all this, especially for us, the people who actually fly on these things. For half a century, this fierce rivalry has been the engine of innovation in aviation. It's this competition that has forced both of them, year after year, to build better, safer, and more fuel-efficient airplanes for all of us.
Now, make no mistake, Boeing is down, but they are absolutely not out. This is a company with a legendary history and incredible talent, and it's now fighting to reclaim its former glory. Their rivalry literally defined the jet age. So the question now is, as we head into a whole new era of aviation, what will the next chapter of this incredible story bring?